Hello, white people. This should put a smile on your face. Supreme Court allows Trump administration to implement public charge test for immigrants. This is dated January 27th, 2020, and this is on a website called nationalreview.com. The Supreme Court ruled on Monday to approve the Trump administration's public charge rule for new immigrants. The justices approved the rule by a vote of 5-4 along ideological lines. Public charge has in recent years been defined as a person dependent on cash assistance programs. The Trump administration updated the definition in August 2019 to include people likely to require non-cash government benefits and sought to implement a policy limiting the number of new immigrants who would require government assistance such as food stamps or Medicaid. Lower courts have repeatedly blocked the new policy from going into effect. In early January, the Second Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals implemented a nationwide injunction against the policy, which Monday's Supreme Court decision overrules. Throughout our history, self-reliance has been a core principle in America, of course. Then Acting Director of U.S. Customs and Immigration Services Ken Cuccinelli, I don't know how to pronounce that, said at a 2019 press conference regarding the new policy, "The virtues of perseverance, hard work, and self-sufficiency laid the foundation of our nation and have defined generations of immigrants seeking opportunity in the United States." Well, I wouldn't go that far. President Trump has made immigration reform a centerpiece of his agenda, seeking to slow legal immigration and halt illegal immigration to the U.S. In one of the latest developments on Thursday, the State Department announced new guidelines aimed at cracking down on birth tourism. Under the Constitution, babies born in the U.S. receive citizenship even if the parents are foreign citizens visiting the country on a tourist visa. Around 10,000 babies were born to parents of foreign citizens in the U.S. as of 2017. I don't believe that to be true. I'm sure the numbers are much higher. The latest year for which data is available. Trump has also made construction of a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico a priority, diverting funds from the Pentagon to finance the project. Let's check out the comment section. Finally, some sanity, which would not have occurred but for President Trump, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch. So I don't care about the quid pro quo. It's mere lint on a $3,000 suit. President Trump is protecting Western civilization and the American Constitution while his enemies and their fools are wasting time on the topic of quid pro quo. Find me a better electable Republican than Donald John Trump and I will support him or her. Until then, let's be grateful for what we have, a presidential combination of Joe Lewis, Rocky Marciano, and Jack Johnson, and James Braddock. He who is without sin, let him be the first to cast a stone. This strikes me as utterly reasonable and consistent with the law, yet this is considered a right-wing view. Strange times. The justices approved the rule by a vote of 5-4 along ideological lines. U.S. Chief Justice John Roberts, speaking at a New York synagogue on Tuesday night, lamented the perception that the Supreme Court is becoming politicized and that the justices' decisions are guided primarily by their partisan affiliation. God. It is not true that the Constitution dictates that under the Constitution, babies born in the U.S. receive citizenship even if the parents are foreign citizens visiting the country on a tourist visa. This is just the way birthright citizenship has been interpreted to date. What the Constitution actually says is persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. There are many ways that tourists and people on student visas and other visas that are not on a valid path to citizenship are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, nor are illegal aliens by definition. There is no valid reason for claiming the Constitution prescribes citizenship by right of birth in these cases. Absolutely. Birthright citizenship is unconstitutional, and absolutely anybody who has an unconstitutional citizenship needs to get booted out post-haste. No one has ever given me a decent answer to why we try to change the written Constitution to solve this. Hand the parents the child and congratulate them on their new American citizen. A social worker has been assigned to ensure that you can provide the child an acceptable home in your country. If not, the child will be placed into foster care until placed with parents who wish to adopt. Nobody wants to adopt a third worlder's child. In the meantime, here is the bill for your medical services. At any time in the future, should you wish to re-enter the United States, immigration will be collecting any outstanding balance before issuing a visa. Yes, it's terrible, but isn't this exactly how we now treat our own? I doubt there will be anything but a drastic reduction in birth tourism. Unlike many of our stupid policies, this one doesn't seem to have easy loopholes. Oh, and if we like, we let them escape the country with the baby before the social worker steals it and save everyone lots of trouble. Simply refreshingly logical. 5-4 along ideological lines presumably means 5 justices ruled on the basis of textual constitutional analysis and 4 justices were ideological? ? As someone who works with legal immigrants on a regular basis, I support this rule. Having said that, I think the concern is that rules like this have in the past been used to discriminate not so much on economic factors but racial ethnic factors. What an idiot. Which just happen to look much the same, don't they? Good. Actually, the 4 dissenters have simply added yet another reason, impeach and remove them for making the law up as they go along. It used to be the rule that a person had to prove they had a job and support before they could come to this country. Why is this being challenged now? When did that change? Well, it changed when they started allowing refugees and asylum seekers. Was that in the 90s, 80s, 90s, something like that? Great news, but so sad that the left-wing justices vote in lockstep against rulings like this. Glad that the squishy Chief Justice voted in favor of this ruling. Nice to see another bubblehead posting. Whatever. Common sense is not common practice. I don't know how this doesn't make sense. Why would we take a large percentage of immigrants who would require public assistance? Why? Because so many of the compassionate left do not understand the economics of welfare, or because they value virtue signaling more than they value the hard work of taxpayers. I do understand that your question was rhetorical. Take note that this was a 5-4 decision. I noted above that the ruling was 5-4, with the progs doing what they always do, vote with their feelings rather than using their brains. Oh, the left understands the economics of welfare just fine. Public assistance programs require a large bureaucracy to administer, and an overwhelming majority of those that work in that bureaucracy vote Democrat and oppose any reforms in the programs they administer. But the left understands the politics of welfare even better. Once you get those immigrants hooked on the handouts, it's much harder to get them off, and they'll vote Democrat forever once they gain citizenship. Not forever, just until the government runs out of other people's money. Starving children with no future makes a lot of parents wiser, if only too few and too slowly. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to your comments below.